Greetings, citizens of Nerdtropolis. Sean Todd here, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and on this episode of Real Insights, my guest is Brad Peyton, the director of Netflix's Atlas.
Hey, Brad.
How you doing, man?
It's great to meet you. First off, I have to thank you for the slate of films that you made starring The Rock, because my grandpa, who just turned 90, and I bonded over those films, and that was our movie-going experience and created some great memories for us.
Well, I'm happy to do it, sir.
And also, Rampage was my favorite arcade game growing up and have fond memories of that. So thanks for bringing that to life. That was a bunch of fun.
Yeah, no worries. That's one of the 3 games that as a kid, I grew up in a really small town, and there was no arcade, but there were 3 arcade games in our airport: Strider, Narcs, and Rampage. And so I remember my dad, who loved planes, would drive me to the airport, and I would just throw quarters at Rampage. So it was kind of fun to be able to take that game and go, okay, I'm going to build this whole story out of it. So it was a fun one.
No, it was brilliant. And to be honest, that game was at my local CC's Pizza, and my parents would be like, "You're not eating food. No, give me more quarters." I would spend more time playing the arcade game than eating my dinner. So yeah, it was a great film. And I really enjoyed Atlas. Wow, what an awesome sci-fi film. Great cast, very unique sci-fi story, big action as well, and awesome world building is what I really loved about it. Cool. And also the cool mechs. I mean, that is just so cool. Yeah. The entire concept really intrigued me. So what inspired you to take on such a unique sci-fi story?
First of all, I'd say that I'm just a giant sci-fi nerd. I've always loved sci-fi. So it was an opportunity I was always sort of seeking. And the reason the script came to me is because I would say to people all the time, I really want to do science fiction, and I really want to do a strong female lead. So, I've said that for years, going in and out of meetings. And finally, one of the people I'd talked to brought me the script, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I latched on instantly to the story of this woman who did not want to trust technology for spoiler alert reasons. And then she gets stuck inside of a giant mech suit that she has to learn to trust in order to survive. And I was like, what a great idea. What a great concept. And like you said, I love world building. And so as soon as I get the script and I get to go to an alien planet, the first thing the studio asked was what's the planet look like? And I'm like, it's going to look like everything. It's I grew up, watching the trailer to Return of the Jedi. So there was sand, there was forest, there was space, there was the Death Star. And that trailer impacted me so much that when I was like, okay, I get a chance to do my sci-fi, I'm going to have desert and jungle and swamp and snow. So yeah, it was a lot of things I've always wanted to do wrapped into one kind of project. So yeah, I think what you're seeing is a sci-fi nerd getting to really geek out and have a good time.
I was geeking out too. I was like, that is so cool. I have not seen this before, in a sci-fi film. Also, you speak of that planet that has everything. Yeah. But you also created a very futuristic Hollywood, which was really cool. Yeah. What were some things you wanted to input of putting a future Hollywood in the film?
So we work with a futurist, so we got to discuss AI, the technology behind how a mech suit would be powered. I talked about ecology, what would the world actually be like 100 or 150 years in the future. And, a lot of films have kind of said, AI is all bad, or the world is going to be all sand dunes. And truthfully, that's probably not going to happen, at least not in the next 150 years. So a lot of the stuff I really loved was just the big arrays that catch the sun that I put in LA. I live in Los Angeles and I know downtown LA, so I had a lot of fun putting downtown LA 2 next to it, where the really rich people live. So I was just I got to kind of envision this future of how I thought this would be a really fun way to still feel grounded and not too extreme in any one direction, but also go, okay, I'm going to give you some fun stuff to look at in terms of what LA might look like in 100 years.
I like any film that will show me what the future of LA looks like. I just think that it just looks cool on the big screen. And then you spoke about this lead role, strong woman, and Jennifer Lopez. How did y'all get her attached?
Yeah, she was an idea that came up, and as soon as I was pitched the idea, I thought, this is amazing. So it's such a specific movie, and going into it, I knew there was a chance to make something really unique, but it had a lot of unique challenges. And one of the big challenges was that this actor, whoever played Atlas, was going to be stuck in this mech suit, you know, for weeks on end by herself. And I thought Jen might be really suited because she's a performer who's used to going out and singing and dancing in front of stadiums. And where a lot of actors, if you put them inside of a set and you say, there's no cast here, I'll have someone talking to you, but there's no one to play opposite of, that's like their worst nightmare, because a lot of acting is reacting and listening. And she, I think, was, you know, equally nervous at first, but her skill set and her whole life of being a performer basically prepared her to perform with just herself. And so at the beginning, I feel like it was really daunting for her, but by halfway through the shoot, she loved it. She loved being in the mech suit, even though it, you know, it was technically challenging. It's on this big gimbal and it's moving or running, and you know, it's not the easiest workspace, and there's like cameras strapped everywhere. But she really did a great job, and I have to say, like, she's known for a lot of things, but the two things that stood out to me was a very, very hard worker. Like, she is always working. She just drives at what she wants. And the second thing is she's very, very courageous. I think that's one of her greatest virtues. And I think you need both of those things to pull off a movie of this scale, which I think she did in spades. I think she was phenomenal and she delivered an amazing performance.
No, I absolutely agree. And I love all the scenes that she does with Smith. So can you talk about finding the voice behind Smith?
Yeah, it's a funny story. So basically, we knew we wanted someone to be able to play opposite her so that she could have dialogue and it could be real interactions, right? We knew that was essential. Of course, a lot of people were like, hey, we don't have to cast the voice until in post. But when I got all of the people that were coming in to possibly just be the day player, that, you know, the person that would just help out and be there for her, when I heard Greg's tape, I was like, this is how I picture Smith. This is actually how I picture the voice. I never met him. I hired him just off his voice tape. He came in. He was super hardworking. He was really great with Jen. And as I heard him more and more, people were like, where'd you find this guy? He's amazing. And I realized about halfway through, this is probably the voice of Smith. By the time everyone hears this cut together, they're gonna have a hard time hearing anyone else. And that's exactly what happened. And so it was a really amazing find. And, you know, one of the things that was great was that, you know, Greg pictured his entire role as, I'm just here to help Jen. And one day I said, well, you know, that's actually what Smith is there to do as well. And I could see the gears turning in his head, like, oh, and I feel like that's the day where I was like, okay, I'm going to treat this guy like he is Smith for sure. And I talked to him about Smith's arc and everything, and he embraced it. And he was really, really awesome. And in fact, he was around me so much. There's a couple Easter eggs. He actually voices two characters in the movie, and he's actually in the movie himself. Because I was like, this guy's working so hard. You know, he's an actor. Like he's in Hollywood to make it happen. And I was like, okay, I got to put this guy on camera because he's bringing it every day. He's so great with Jen. So yeah, Greg was a really big find, and yeah, I'm really happy for him because this is obviously going to be a big boost to his career.
They're great, and also the rest of the cast is great too. But could we see more from the world of Atlas?
I hope so. I hope so. Look, when you go to design a world like this, you end up sort of falling into the world, and you end up designing a lot of things and having a lot of ideas bubble up. And then you have to kind of go, okay, well, what's going to fit in this movie? And then you just focus on what's going to fit in the movie. As we wrapped up the movie, you know, I started having a lot of ideas. And so I wrote this outline that really kind of focuses on where Jen's character would go next. I also felt like Simu's character, Harlan, is a little misunderstood. So I was like interested in kind of continuing to explore AI and where that might go in a completely different way. I've actually figured out something that's even scarier than this movie. And then I also just like fell in love with the idea of like the arcs and ICN and what it would mean to be a ranger. And so I have this fun idea about sort of like the Top Gun school for ARC pilots that I'm exploring. So yeah, I have a bunch of ideas, you know, we'll see, but I'm prepared if people really love it, and I'm happy to bring them back.
No, they'll love it. And we need more mechs is what we need. So
the world needs more mechs. I agree.
Yeah. Thank you, Brad. This was great. I'm looking forward to what you do next.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Once again, this is Sean Taj, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and stay tuned for more movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers.